You are listening to Smart Women's Dating Podcast, episode number 29. Welcome to Smart Women's Dating Podcast. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help smart, independent women attract the love they deeply desire without having to chase or settle. This podcast will give you the mindset tools and insights you need to finally crack the code to your love life. Are you ready? Then let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. If you are a strong, independent woman who likes to make things happen and who has a lot to give a man, it's very cool and you should appreciate that about yourself. But if you also experience that dating feels like an unsolvable enigma and the more you try and the harder you work, the less you get the good results you want, then it could be because you're doing a few things that work really well outside of dating, but that unfortunately can turn a man off. In this episode, I'm going to tell you about 5 ways you risk turning a man off, maybe without even knowing it. I'm going to share with you why it's a turn off and what to do instead. And for the record, I'm assuming here that what you're looking for is an emotionally available and masculine man who is looking for a serious relationship. That's important to emphasize. So, number 1 is if you are very proactive and invite him for the first couple of days before he even gets a chance to show some initiative himself. So maybe you not only invite him but also text him in between the dates to hear how he's doing and if he wants to see you again and when. This is of course you being in your masculine energy, and if you listen to episode 6 of this podcast, which is called Feminine Energy and the Art of Leaning Back, you will know that this does not attract a masculine man. You might feel empowered in the beginning when you do that, especially as a strong, independent woman who's used to making things happen and not just sit around and wait for others. It feels freeing to just be able to take the lead and move things forward, to just send him a text and call the restaurant and book a table and not have to wait 3 or 4 days while you're overthinking the whole thing, right? But then at some point it no longer feels so empowering, when you realize that you are the only one taking initiative, that he is just a passive passenger in the connection. He's just leaning back and saying yes and letting you do all the work. Until he's no longer there because now he's dating someone else. Or maybe he checked out a long time ago for reasons that were not clear to you. That's when it feels very disempowering. All the things you've done for him and that he barely even appreciated. So what can you do instead? You want to practice leaning back. Let him take the first initiative. Let him get a chance to show you his interest more than once, so you know he will not leave it all up to you. And then you can invest back emotionally in him. It's not like you can never take initiative, but you want to avoid being the one who carries the whole thing. You want to lean back more often than you are active, and you want to see that he keeps coming towards you with new initiative. And of course, don't be hard to get. Don't try to be cool. If you like him, then show it. But don't show it by taking the lead. Show it by giving him lots of appreciation. Now, why does it turn a man off if you take the lead and you're very proactive? So here's what's important to notice. This will not attract a masculine man. You might still attract some men, but those will be more passive and lean back and the kind of man who likes that you are driving the whole thing and taking initiative and doing all the work. A masculine man wants to have a chance to show you his interest. He wants to be able to invite you and not feel that you are constantly ahead of him, that you are constantly taking the next initiative before he even gets a chance to think of what to do in the next date. So if you want to attract a masculine man and you don't want to have men that you are dragging along, then you need to lean back. Number 2 is if you take care of everything yourself and, for instance, say, no, I can do this myself if he offers help to you with something. You might think of it literally as a sign that he thinks you cannot do the thing yourself and that's why he wants to help you. So I used to be really annoyed when a man wanted to hold the door for me because I thought it made me look helpless, and why would I all of a sudden not be capable of opening a door or carrying a small bag of groceries? I didn't see that there was a symbolic gesture in this, and what was important was his intentions. He wanted to give to me. And it's the same when it comes to paying for a date, for instance. Maybe you feel very eager to contribute and pay for the dinner, or at least pay your part, also because you might make good money. And if he insists on paying, you feel bad and you think of ways you can pay him back or spoil him with a nice gift. The same goes for compliments. He compliments you for being pretty in a dress, and you say, "Oh, it's just something I bought many years ago in H&M. It's not actually that nice." We do this because we think it's a way to be low maintenance, but in reality, we close ourselves off to receiving from a man, whether it is help, compliments, or paying for dates. And if we do that repeatedly, it's going to make him feel rejected. We send the signal that we don't want what he has to offer, and that also means we are not open to him. Think of it as an energetic thing, and he's going to feel that he can't play an important role in our life when he can't give what he wants to give, and that is a turn-off. Instead, practice receiving with joy and gratitude, without worrying about giving back right after or thinking about owing something to him, even if it feels very unusual and uncomfortable. Your nervous system will protest, but just remind yourself that you are worthy of receiving what a man wants to offer to you. And if you want to dive more into the topic of receiving, you can listen to episode 10, The Feminine Art of Receiving. Number 3, if you're trying really hard to impress him, like for instance, he tells you a story about something he did, and that reminds you of something you did, and it just happens that your story is better. You story trump him. And you're so eager to make a good impression that you share all the things you have achieved and experiences you've had. And without even noticing it, you might come across as a little bit competitive, and your focus and attention is no longer on him, but how you can impress him with your life. This is a turn-off for most men because they don't want to compete with a woman, and they don't want this feeling that regardless of what they tell you, you have a better and more impressive story. He wants to be able to impress you, so let him impress you. This is one of the big differences between the masculine and feminine energy, and you can think of nature, think of the colorful peacock. The masculine wants to impress the feminine, and if you try to impress him, it can seem a bit desperate or like you don't know your own value, that you have to demonstrate it and prove it to him. So what you want to do instead, you want to just be present with him. Just listen and comment and ask questions, and know that it's your personality that interests him, not your accomplishment. And you don't have to put it all up front and show him how great you are because of all the things you've done and accomplished in life. You know you are great. You are amazing because of who you are. And whenever it comes natural into the conversation, you of course share your stories, not to impress him, but because it was part of the conversation. And it's a very different energy when you're sharing a story because it's part of a conversation and you are relaxed and you are enjoying the moment. Number 4 is if you ask for certainty early on, like 1 month into the dating where you had maybe 4 or 5 dates and you really feel optimistic about it and you are curious to know where he stands because you are ready to close your profile. And it's not that he has no clue at that point. Depending on his age and maturity, of course, he might know very well what he wants with you. He might already then think that if everything goes well, he would love to be in a long-term relationship with you. But he just doesn't want to be rushed. There's a time for everything, and there's a period of time where it's still a bit delicate. You're both getting to know each other, and the moment one of you asks for a clear commitment or where you stand, it can feel like a shift, like if you are devaluing yourself and you don't trust that things will develop in the way that's best for both of you. If you felt 100% sure that you are an amazing catch and he is lucky to go on dates with you, you wouldn't need to ask for certainty. You would be more focused on what you want and whether you are willing to give him a commitment. Because you might be all in now, but what about in 2 months? You also need to get to know him well before you know for sure if you are ready. Of course, after a longer time, let's say 3 months, that's where you might want to have this conversation, but not in the early stages. Instead, what you want to do is make sure from early on that you're both looking for the same. This is very important to get clarity of. You want to ask him what he's looking for and how he sees his future relationship. And you want to share what you are looking for as early as possible, your vision for a relationship with the right man whoever that turns out to be. And if you know he's looking for the same as you, then trust that if you are right for each other, it will develop into a long-term relationship, and you can't make it go faster by asking. Number 5. If you overgive and take care of him, also known as mothering him. Now, what is that even? It doesn't sound like something you would do, right? Well, think of this. Overgiving, buying expensive presents, inviting him for dinner on expensive restaurants, or offering him a vacation or a mini trip somewhere. Do you recognize that? I did that a lot in the past, and I told myself that it wasn't a problem. However, it did shift the energy between us when I did that in a relationship. It could also be taking care of him in the sense that you always support him and you put his needs first. You do him favors, fix his problems, psychoanalyze or coach him, help him solve problems at work, or do his laundry and cook his favorite food and then give him a massage. And I'm not saying that it's not okay to cook him dinner or offer him massage on special occasions, but when it's a daily habit and you always think of his needs before yours, you are mothering him. And the real reason you don't want to do all this is that it is over-functioning and you are draining yourself. But it's also an attraction killer for a masculine man. He might enjoy the attention to begin with, but the polarity goes out of the window. The mothering energy soothes him, but it does not attract him. So instead of doing all that, if you want to support him, let him know that you are there if he needs you. Don't push onto him your support and help, and don't fix his problem. Let him know that you trust that he will find a solution and you are there if he needs you. And when it comes to presents and giving, buy something nice for yourself instead. Go out with friends, go for a massage, or buy a course or something that gives you value and adds to your life. Because like this, he will benefit indirectly as well. Don't overdo the expensive presents, and also be really honest with yourself as to why you want to give something expensive. Do you secretly hope for a certain response or reaction from him? Or are you giving to him because you don't believe your time and attention is enough, that you are somehow not good enough in yourself for him? So these were the 5 ways you could unintentionally be turning a man off, and if you noticed, all 5 of them are about giving away your power, either by overfunctioning or shifting the focus from what you want to what he wants. So just to recap the 5 recommendations here. Don't be too proactive. Try to lean back instead, especially in the beginning. Don't try to take care of everything yourself. Be open to receive his support and compliments and whatever he wants to give to you. Don't try really hard to impress him. Instead, you want to be present, relax, and enjoy the moment. Don't push him to commit early on or ask him where he stands and where he sees this going. Instead, allow yourself the time to discover whether you really want to commit. And finally, stop overgiving and mothering him, and instead, take back the focus to yourself. Give to yourself so you nourish your own energy. All of them are about shifting from masculine into feminine energy. And I want you to see that when you shift into feminine energy, you automatically also take back a lot of power to yourself. So it's not just something you do to avoid pushing him away, it also gives you a better dating experience. So this is what I had for you today, and next week I'll be back with the first episode in a mini-series of 3 about love and attraction. And in the first one, I'm going to address the myth about love at first sight, something I know a lot of you dream of, and I can't wait to share my thoughts about that with you. And if you would like my personal support on your dating journey, there's a link in the show notes where you can book a free 45 minutes call with me and where we can discuss your challenges and your dating story and what is keeping you single, and I can share with you how I can help you. So book a call on the link in the show notes or go to my website lærkethelovecoach.com, and Lærke is L-A-E-R-K-E. Thank you so much for listening, and take care and have a beautiful week. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.